On the 23rd of September each year, the African New Year traces its origins to the country's agricultural and lunar calendar. This unique tradition is deeply rooted in diverse cultures and the mother continent's rich history. The African New Year is a time of agricultural significance and life cycles. So to celebrate the New Year, a pilgrimage to Mpumalanga takes place. However, this year, it's believed the group was denied access to that sacred space, Inzalo Yelanga, at the nature reserve. Let's now speak to cultural expert Mkhulu Nsingiza, who was leading the pilgrimage. Mkhulu, thank you so much for making time for us. First of all, let's deal with what happened there yesterday. What led to this altercation and you guys being denied access to this space?
Kesha, it started, I think it must have been Wednesday or Monday last week, where, in the process of me negotiating and educating the government about equality of the site that is in question in terms of, embracing both the natural as well as the cultural, heritage. Whilst we were still in that process, then I received, papers from their lawyer that they are interdicting me. They are trying to prevent me from, and our movement from, accessing, that place. Whilst I was still arguing, with them, because I was saying to them, you are now only bringing the protection of the natural heritage. But what about the cultural heritage? Because these things have got to go all together. Whilst in that process, I was called on Thursday, informed that there will be a court, process. Then on Thursday, the court said I had no representative because I had explained to the lawyer of the department that we are a movement that is self-funding. Why? Because, government have absconded their responsibility of teaching their people. And we won't be able to actually, have money to even come to court or anything. No, then the next thing, there's a session on Thursday in the afternoon where a decision by the judge was taken that, we are not allowed to go in there. Then they slap us with a 300,000 cost that we're supposed to pay. Where do we get that money? In the first place, I mean, the evilness, of these people. I explained to them that we have no funding. Can we engage, intellectually about this issue? Because I'm not going to back down because my cultural rights are also protected with this, farce of a constitution.
Yeah. So the pilgrims, obviously you guys are looking to celebrate the African New Year. Just help our viewers understand why it's so important for you to do that in that environment. So help us understand the significance of that location, Inzalo Yelanga.
Okay. Yes, this is the place that was taught to us by Ubabu Credo, our teacher. He explained the importance. He said, this is the most sacred place on the continent, because in terms of civilization can be traced back to that side. And that side, in terms of, our sustenance, this is where the electromagnetic field of Earth passes. Ubab Credo calls it, the path of the God. So when we are going there, we are going to a chakra center, an energy vortex, for us to be able to receive the sun when it's from, the northern hemisphere. Meaning that the sun was on the northern hemisphere until on the 21st of September, where it officially left the northern hemisphere, entered, the imaginary line of the equator. Then on the 22nd, the day we were sabotaged. This was the day of the spring equinox, where the energies of night and day were equal. That is when we were denied, but we had resolved that we have a right to that place because the Constitution, the part of the Constitution that is controlling that place is discriminating us. This is a violation of our human rights and abused by our own government. How do you come and impose a colonial law on us, and yet the declaration that the government made, disregarded the historical fact of that place? That place was declared now in the 20-something, but the historical fact about that place, it's there. It's just that people are not interested in African philosophy. They are busy giving us this Western philosophy, and they are controlling us with that mindset. Ubabu Credo was initiated there. Most of the kings and queens from the rest of the continent were initiated there. That is a place of initiation, not a nature reserve, as per, the African, perception.
And I suppose that speaks to a government that lacks the understanding of that cultural significance. You spoke about the issue of lack of funding, that your movement, you don't have enough funds to even defend yourself in court. So when it comes to teaching people about this cultural significance, you need that funding, you need the support of government. So how are you going to even start not only educating communities and South Africans about this cultural significance, but government itself, so that when you want to use this location for these cultural practices, they understand where you're coming from and why that is so important for you?
It's very important, Kesha. I'm so disappointed. That I engaged the minister first. Twice the minister, as this Koto promised to call me so that we have a meeting. 2 meetings were arranged before all this violation. 2 meetings were arranged with Minister Zizi when we're supposed to meet. Because I was saying, we are doing government work. We are returning the original calendar of the Southern Hemisphere, what our ancestors used before the colonization happened. Then he promised to meet, then we never met. And when this challenge, came, I reported to the head of the presidency at the ANC. Nobody responded. So we are on our own. We go there. We are saying to myself, we have all the rights. We are justified to be on that space because that space belongs to black people. That space belongs to all Africans. This is an African, pilgrimage, place where the mobilization that we are trying to do is to unite black people, all over the world, just once a year for us as the continent to come and celebrate our new year. We can never achieve when we are still, controlled by this colonial law we call the Republic of South Africa.
So this is essentially about denying people their right to practice their heritage on this Heritage Day and to observe what was really an important day.
Oh no, it is a violation. This exposes the most important fact that the Republic of South Africa is a scam for black people. The Republic of South Africa is still controlling and not giving access to indigenous people of the amenities that are there for us. Every time we have to go to our sacred sites, we have to request a permission from government. We have to pay. We paid for us to access there. Look at what happens when people go to Mecca. The reason why we are experiencing all this violation is because government is pushing Western philosophy upon the majority of African people. In the other countries, their governments are in the forefront of the pushing their culture. So our government is pushing the Western culture like the calendar that they are pushing on us. It is based on the Northern Hemisphere and we are on the Southern Hemisphere. We've been trying for the last 20 years, together with Umamwini and Ndlovukazi, Uzinzi Mandela, trying to conscientize the government that it is government responsibility to realign, the people to the original and the natural flow of the energy of the southern hemisphere. They make us kneel at the wrong time. We're not supposed to be kneeling during Easter and Christmas because that is based on the northern calendar. We are on the southern, hemisphere. We're not supposed to partake in those things. And those are the things that government funds. Every time we go and ask for assistance, we requested assistance, just logistics. We said, can you just grave the road there so that when we go there, it's easy? Can you just assist us with toilets? Nobody came to our help.
Sure. What are the consequences then of not being allowed into that sacred space and practicing the cultural, the traditional practices to observe this new year? What are the consequences?
The consequences is that, every time you violate the natural law, there are consequences. We don't know how our ancestors were supposed to have, after that, reacted towards it, because we have to fight for them. When you decolonize your mind, you are not only liberating yourself physically, but you are also liberating your ancestors, because they want to express through you. But if you operate with a colonial mindset, you will always be violating. But there was an agreement that came because we had a resolve that we are not going to go back at home and listen to a man-made law. We respect more the natural law of our ancestors.
What's the plan then? Are you going to engage government? Because you need them to come to the table.
No, something positive has actually come out. My long wish to actually do workshops for government, for all governments, even the Department of, the SADF, the Defense Force. They are sitting on one of our most sacred sites, in Durban there, at the Bluff Port. They have to liberate that site as well. Every time we want to go and connect to the chakras of Earth, because Bluff represents the root chakra of Earth. This is where the electromagnetic field of Earth begins. Then the main figure, Inzalo Yelanga, is the most potent. That is why we go there. So, if government has got to give in, this is our land. They can't, control this land based on colonial laws that denied us access to this important, spiritual side. So they've got to give in. We have a right to demand our rights as African people. And the so-called first of, constitution is also protecting us in terms of cultural heritage. So when you deal with government people, they don't want to hear it.
Well, Mkhulu Nsingiza, good luck. Thank you so much for making time to chat to us this afternoon. That's Mkhulu Nsingiza.